Hi friends, today I will discuss with you history of India. According to consensus in modern genetics, anatomically modern humans' first arrival on the Indian subcontinent from Africa between 73,000 and 55,000 years ago. However, the earliest no human remains in South Asia date to 30,000 years ago. Settled life, which involved the transition from foraging to framing and pastoralism, began in South Asia around 7,000 BCE at the site Marga. Presence can be documented by of the domestication of wheat and barley, rapidly followed by that of goats, sheep, and cattle. By 450 BCE, settled life had spread more widely and began to gradually evolve into the Indus Valley civilization, an early civilization of the Old World, which are contemporaneous with ancient Egypt and Mesopotamia. This civilization flourished between 2050 to 2500 BCE and 1900 BCE in what today is Pakistan and northwestern India and was noted for its urban planning backed brick houses, elaborate draining and water supply. Early on in the second millennium BCE represented about causes the population of the Indus Valley to scatter from large urban centers to villages around the same times. Indo-Aryan tribes moved into the Punjab from Central Asia in several waves of migration. Their Vedic periods 1500 into 50 1500 and 500 BCE was marked by the composition of the Vedas. Large collection of hymns of these tribes, their Varma systems which evolved into the caste in the caste system consisted of a hierarchy of physicists, warriors and free peasants. The pastoral and nomadic Indo-Aryan spread from the Punjab into the genetic plan, large swaths of which they deforested for agriculture usage. The composition of Vedic text ended around 600 BCE when a few integrational culture arose. Small chieftains or or Janapadas were consolidated into large states of Mahajanapad, and the second urbanization took place. His urbanization was accompanied by the rise of new ascetic movement in Magadha, including Jainism and Buddhism, which Opposite the growing influence, the Brahminism and the primacy of rituals presided by Bahrain presides that had come to be associated with radical religion and gave rise to new religion concepts in response to the success of these movements. Vedic Brahminium was associated with the pre-existing religious cultures of the subcontinents, giving rise to Hinduism. Most of the Indian subcontinents was conquered by the Maurya Empire during the 4th and 3rd centuries BCE. From the 3rd century BCE onward, Prakrit and Pali lecture in the north and the Tamil Sangam lecture in southern India started to flourish. Wood steel originated in South India in the 3rd century BCE and was exported to foreign countries. During the classical periods, various parts of India were ruled by numerous mystics for the next 1500 years, among which the Gupta Empire stand out. These periods witnessing Hindu religions and intelligent Hindu religions and intellectual resurgence is known as the classical or golden age of India. During this period, aspects of Indian civilization, administration, culture, and religion, Hinduism and Buddhism spread to much of Asia, while kingdom in southern India had maritime businesses linked line with the Middle East and the Mediterranean. Indian cultural influence spread over many parts of Southeast Asia, which led to the establishment of interest kingdoms in South Asia, Greater India. The most significant events between the 7th and 11th century was the typewriter struggle centers on conquest that latest for more than 2 centuries between the Pala Empire and Gujarata Parthira Empire. Southern India saw and rise of multiple imperial power over the middle of the 5th century, most notable the Chalukya, Chola, Pallava, Shira, Pandyan, and Rassel Chalukya empires. The Chalukya dynasty conquered southern India and successfully invaded part of Southeast Asia, Sri Lanka, the Maldives, and Bengal in the 11th century. In the early medieval periods, Indian mathematics, including Hindu numericals, influenced the uh, diplom, deployment of mathematics and astronomy in the Arabic world. Islamic conquest made limited inroaded into modern Afghanistan and Sindh as early as the 8th century, followed by the invasion of Muhammad Ghaznavi. The Delhi Sultanate has founded in 1206 century by Central Asian Turks who ruled who ruled a major part of the northern Indian subcontinent in the early 14th century but declined in the late 14th century and saw the advent of the Deccan Sultanates. The wealthy Bengal Sultanate also emerged as a major power listing over their countries. This period also saw the emergence of several powerful Hindu states, notably and Rajput states such as Mewar. The 5th century saw the advent of Sikhism. The early Buddhism periods began in the 16th century when the Mughal Empire conquered most, most, most of the Indian subcontinent. Signification the industrialization became the biggest global economy and manufacturing power with a normal GDP that valued a particle of world GDP surpassed than the combination of eras. The Mughals suffered a gradual decline in the early 18th century, which provided opportunities for the Vatla's six mayors and Nizams and Nawabs of Bengals of exercise control over large regions of the Indian subcontinent from the mid 18th century to the mid 19th century. Large regions of India were gradually annexed by the East India Company, a chartered company acting as a sovereign power on behalf of the British government. Justification with company rule in India led to the Indian rebellion of 1857, which rocked parts of North and Central India and led to the dissolution of Company India was afterward ruled directly by the British Crown in the British Raj after World War. In a nationwide struggle for independence was launched by the Indian National Congress led by Mahatma Gandhi and noted nonviolence. Later, may All Indian Muslim League World advocate for a separate Muslim majority nation state. The British Indian Empire was partitioned in August 1947 into the Dominion of Indian and Dominion of Pakistan each gaining its independence. Contents. Number 1, prehistoric era. Number 1.1, Paleolithic. Paleolithic. Number 1.2, Neolithic. Neolithic. 2, Bronze Age. 2.2, Indus Valley Civilization. 2.2, Ochik Cloud Poetry Culture. Number 3, Iron Age. 3.1, Vedic period. 3.2, second urbanization. Number 4, classification period. 4.1, early classical periods. 4.2, classical period. Number 5, early medieval period. 5.1, Chalukya Empire. 5.2, Rashtrakuta Empire. 5.3, Gujarja Parathita Empire. 5.4, Gahadavya dynasty. 5.5, Kekaria dynasty. 5.6, Pala Empire. 5.7, Cholas. 5.8, Western Chalukya Empire. Number 6, late medieval period. 6.1, Delhi Sultanate. 6.2, Vijayanagra Empire. 6.3, Kingdom of Mayar. 6.4, Makti movement and Sikhism. Number 7, early modern periods. 7.1, Mughal Empire. 7.2, Marathas and Sikhs. 7.3, Europeans explosion. 7.4, East India Company rule in India. Number 8, modern period and independence. 8.1, rebellion of 1857 and its consequences. 8.2, British Raj 1858 to 1947. 18.3, Indian Independence Day movement. 8.4, independence and partition. Number 9, histography. Number 10, see also. Number 11, references. Number 11.1 notes. 11.2, citation. 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 11.3, sources. Number 12, further reading. 12.1 General. 12.2 Histography. Histo- 12.3 Primary. 12.4 Online resources. Paleolithic. Meaning explanation for Africa is estimated to have reached the Indian subcontinent approximately 2 million years ago and possibly as early as 2.2 million years before the present. This dating is based on the known presence of Homo erectus in Indonesia by 1.8 million years before the present and in East Asia by 1.36 million years before present, as well as the discovery of stone tools made by proto-humans in the Son River's valley at Swat and in the Phoebe Hills is present day. Pakistan, although some older discoveries have been claimed the suggested dates based on the dating of fluvial sediments have not been independently verified. The oldest hominian fossils remains in the Indian subcontinent are those of Homo erectus of Homo habilis from the Narmada Valley in central India or the and are dated of approximately half a million year ago. Oldest police finds have been claimed but are considered unreadable. Review of archaeological evidence have suggested that occupation of the Indian subcontinent by hominium was sporadic until approximately 7 lakh years ago and was geographically widespread by ap- approximately 250,000 years ago. The present from which point onward archaeological evidence of proto-human presence is widely mentioned. According to a history demographer of South Asia, Tim Desson, Buddhist and Jainism. Jainism. The time between 800 BCE to 400 BCE witnessed the composition of the earliest Upanishads from the theoretically theoretical based of classical Hinduism and are also known as Vedanta conception of the Vedas, including urbanization of India in 7th and 6th countries BCE led to rise in new ascetic or Sramana movements which challenged the ordo- orthodoxy of rituals. Mahavira, proponents of Jism, of Gurudwara, Wilderness, of movements, Jism. Around the same time, Mahavira the 24th, Titkanakana and Jainism proponents in the technology was the latter become Jainism. However, Jain orthodoxy believed the teaching of the traditional trades. Maurya Empire. The Maurya Empire unified most of the Indian subcontinents into one state and was the largest empire ever to exist on the Indian subcontinent at its greatest extent. The Mayor Empire stretched on the north up to the natural boundaries of the Himalayas and to the east into what is now Assam. To the west, it's reached beyond modern Pakistan to the Hindu Kush mountains in what is now Afghanistan. The empire was established by Chandragupta Maurya, assisted by Chankya. When the overview the Nanda dynasty, Chandragupta rapidly expanded his power westward across central and western India, and by 317 BCE, the empire had fully occupied northwestern India. The Mauryan Empire has defeated Seleucus of Daedalus and further of the Seleucid Empire during the sessions of Mauryan wars, thus gained additional territory to west of the Indus River. Sangam Rapid, Sangam period. During the Sangam period, Tamil lecturer flourished from the 3rd century BCE to the 4th century during collectively known as the Three Crown Kings, Tamil Kham, Chersia dynasty, Chola dynasty, and the Pandyan dynasty ruled part of southern India. The Sangam lecture deals with the history, politics, wars, and culture of the Tamil people of the period. The scholars of the Sangam periods rose from among the common people who sought the patronage of the Tamil king but who mainly wrote about the common people and their concerns. Unlike Sanskrit writers who were mostly Brahmins, Sangam writers came from tribes, classes, and social backgrounds and were mostly non Brahmins. They belonged to different faiths and professions such as farmers, artisans, merchants, monks, and priests, including also royalty and women. Around 3000 century to 20th century, Patputha and anthology of 10 mid-length books collection with which is considered part of Singham lecture, were composed the composition of eight anthologies of poetic works, Ethogoas, okay, as well as composition of 18 minor poetic works, while Tolkappiyam, the earliest grammar work, the Tamil language was developed also during Sangam period. Two of the five great epics of Tamil literature were composed single, which is the non-religious work. They revolve around Kangyangi, who having lost her husband to a miscarriage of justice at the court of the Pandyan dynasty breaks her range and on the kingdom and many mechanically composed by Sithalesia. Satandlar is a sequel of Silafatikaram and tells the story of daughter of Palwan and Madhavi who become Hindus becoming. British Raj 1858 into 1947. After 1857, the colonial government strengthened and expanded its infrastructures versus the court system, legal procedures, and statistics. The Indian Penal Codes came into being, and in the education, Thomas Fabricantors mercifully had made schooling a property for the Raj in the famous minutes for February 1835. The success in implementing the use of English as the medium of instructions by 1890, some 60,000 Indians had matriculated. The Indian economy grew at about 1% per year from 1880 in 1920, and the population also grew at one whore. However, from 1910, Indian private industry began to grow significantly. India built a modern railway system in the late 19th century, which was the fourth largest in the world. The British Raj invested heavily in
infrastructure, including canals and irrigation systems, in addition to railway, telegraphy, roads, and sports. However, historians have been bitterly divided on issues of economic history, with the nationalist school arguing that India was poorer at the end of British rule than at the beginning, and the impoverishment occurred because of the British. In 1905, Lord Curzon split the large province of Bengal into a large Hindu western half and eastern Bengal and Assam, a largely Muslim western half. The British goal was said to be the efficient administration, but the people of Bengal were outguard at the parents, privates, and rules strategy. At it also marked the beginning of the organized until anti-colonial movement, where when the liberal part in British came to power in 1906, he was removed Bengal from movements when the liberal part of British came to power in 1906. He was removed Bengal. He refused in 1901. The Bengali Renaissance refers to a social reform movements during the 19th, the nearly 20th century in the Bengal regions of the Indian subcontinent. During the period of British rule, domestic by Bengali Indus historian Nitlish Singapura describes the maintenance as having started with farmer and humanitarian Raj Ram Mohan Roy, 1775 to 1833, and ended the Asia First Nobel Lecture Rabindranath Tagore 1861 into 1941. This following the religion and social farmers, scholars and writer is described by heroines David Copes as one of the most creative periods in Indian history. During this period, Bengali witnessed the intelligence that is this is in some way similar to the resistance the movement questioned existing orthodoxies, particularly with respect to women marriage, the Todi system, the caste system, movements which espoused rationalism and atheism as the common minister of civil conduct among upper caste educated Hindus. It played an important role in revoking Indians' methods and interview across the need in cross the Indian movement, the subcontinents. So friends, thanks for watching.